Okay, hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, welcome back. If you are a part of the Phoenix Mafia, what is up? Okay, so I told you guys that I will be telling this story and I am delivering as foretold before. Okay guys, so disclaimer, this video is not for children. Okay, no negative comments. I honestly don't care. You have the freedom to comment what you want. This video is not to suggest drugs or weed or marijuana or any of this. Okay, anyways, okay, let's go. So this story starts off, I'd say, a week before my birthday. So this was probably in March. Okay, so as I've told you guys before, this is a story time on my first time sensing, seeing, tapping into different dimensions to see Jezebel spirits, to see demons, things like that. I had always wondered if I wanted to tell this story just because of the person. I didn't want that person to feel any type of way. So yeah, so I met Shay at my job before I started YouTube. I was working at the airport in Atlanta. Okay, so just a regular job, you guys. I think that I was a host for TGI Fridays. Very regular job. I ended up losing the job because I had to come back home because of the break. All right, so there was a specific time that you had to be there, things like that. Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, F that job. Now, I met this girl at this place, right? And she was very spiritual, okay? I want you guys to listen very in-depthly to the whole story. Now, she was spiritual, or we were both going through spiritual awakenings. This was before I knew fully of who I was or the power that I held. Okay, so I had started going through my spiritual awakening, like my transformation, in September, okay? It really started in November, where I was actually going and writing and healing my shadow side very in-depthly. Okay, so I remember there would be days where I would just kind of be writing like for hours in my car, kind of like I couldn't even stop. So definitely automatic writing. But we would go to work. By the way, you guys, she was a Scorpio. Okay, so if you guys have joined any of my lives, I think this I said this one time in a live about like Scorpios are very weird to me. She was a Scorpio. Okay, anybody I hang out with at this point, I was a little bit advanced in my spirituality. I think my spirituality kind of advanced really fast. So I started in November. Me and her were both spiritual. Okay, so we were kind of talking about the things like eating healthy. You know, I'm like, okay, I can really like mess with this girl. Like, you know, she could be my friend. You know, she's on the spiritual journey, I'm on the spiritual journey, what have you. Okay, so we ended up not talking for a while because, like I said, if you are in college, if you know anything like that, in November, in December, that's like the break period. So a lot of times most people are going back to their hometown, their cities, things like that. Like I told you guys, I am from Texas. I go to school in Atlanta, okay? So I went back home, and when I came back to Atlanta, I had been back, you guys, but me and her had been texting. Okay, so I think I had seen her sometimes before this. I told you guys that I did not smoke, right? I had stopped smoking. So just a little follow-up, all right? Just stay with me. Before I stopped smoking, I was smoking weed like constantly. People say that, you know, you cannot get addicted to marijuana. I believe that you can, but it's not more of like a heroin addiction or a cocaine addiction. It's more of like if you're using a substance, a herb, whatever, to feel some type of way, to cope with something, and you're not fully coping with it, or you're not healing it, or the next day you still feel the same, it becomes a attachment, and when something becomes an attachment, it kind of contaminates your energy in a way, because you're using this thing as a high when you should be high yourself. You see what I'm saying? Yes, I'm still a spiritualist. I'm psychic, so I do smoke here and there. I smoke still, but it's definitely not how I used to. Okay, so whereas being in a low vibrational sense and smoking marijuana and going to sleep and not doing anything with my life, all right. If you guys are interested in a video on marijuana, I've came with a lot of epiphanies on what marijuana is used for, but keep going, okay? So I hadn't smoked in a long time. This was probably my first time, or my first period of not smoking since I had started smoking. And so I was like, okay, cool. So she knew I didn't smoke anymore. I think this was like a week before my birthday. I was super lit. If you know me, I love birthdays, right? And of course, I love my own birthday. So this was a very important birthday for me as well. So I was super excited, all right? So I think my birthday was like the next week. So she was like, hey, you want to go out? Do you want to go get something to eat? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And she's like, okay, well, I have a blunt. Do you want to smoke it? And at first I'm like, nah, I'm good, you know. I'm cool on that, because you guys, I didn't actually know when I was smoking marijuana that I was having prophetic dreams that I couldn't remember. So once I stopped smoking, okay, I was having very lucid dreams that were actually helping me tremendously. I take like spirituality very serious, so
step up. This is not a Mickey Mouse program.
Okay, so I feel like that was taking my spirituality away, or my gifts away in some way, so I didn't even want to do it. So I was like, hey, why not? I'll hit it, right?
Say something, I'm giving up.
Big mistake. Now, she comes to my room. She comes to get me. I have my own car. I was like, hey, do you want me to just meet you? And she's like, no. Usually I don't like driving with people because I like to be in the hands of my own safety. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Where are we going? If it's not that far, then I'll go ahead and go with you. We're just supposed to go like up the street or to the mall or something. Not anything too strenuous, okay? So we get in the car. I get in the car with her. And she has this blunt, and you know, we're just talking, and this is when the pandemic had just kind of got back around. I think this was around spring break time, y'all. Okay, just keep up with me. I wasn't that freaked out, just because, you know, at first initially I was like, wow, we're all gonna have to go back home. I think that was the only thing that I was pretty bummed out about. But as far as me like getting sick or dying and things like that, I really wasn't too much freaked out about it, just because I know how the system works. I know how they try to infiltrate our minds and pre-program us, right? So I'm like, okay, we're sitting here, we're talking about it, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. And finally, we smoked the blunt. Now, just a little background knowledge. My father as well struggled with mental illness, as well as like schizophrenia. So I believe that this drug, or me like, I guess, stopping and starting again, kind of kicked in something in my DNA. But as far as like mental illnesses go, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, I don't believe in that anymore, just because of this experience. And I'm getting high already. Like, I'm high. I've been high out of my mind before, so I'm thinking, okay, nothing's gonna happen. I'm good. I'm straight. Whatever. So we're smoking, and like, it's still like the blunt. Like, the blunt is still big, and I'm like, wow, okay. Like, and I ended up saying like, no, I'm good. Like, after like half of it was gone, because I was feeling myself getting way too high, and I've never really been this high before. So this is kind of when everything started to go wrong. And I didn't know the full potential of my spiritual gifts. Now, I started to tap into different dimensions, and it was really freaking me out. So, mind you guys, as a psychic, a real psychic, okay, I was very religious. Growing up, I was very religious, very Christian. Now, as far as me believing and seeing and believing that people have psychic gifts or superpowers, because I feel like this is something that is like weird. All right, so let's just go ahead and get into it. So we're smoking and I start like, you know, my mind is like kind of over, like it's active, okay, at this point. I am a Gemini rising, so a lot of times my Gemini does kick in and I'll like think about like a lot of things at one time. So not only was I having my own thoughts, okay, so mind you, if you're vibrating at a high level, I wasn't doing any drugs, I wasn't doing anything of low vibrational energy, I wasn't even having sex, so I was vibrating very high. When you are smoking marijuana, it naturally puts you at a 4th degree or a 4th dimension, or to the 4D, okay? So if you are already vibrating at a lower level and it puts you at a higher level, of course when you're not on the drug, you're gonna go back to the lower level. But in my case, I was vibrating beyond the level of the weed, so the weed helped me to go to a higher level, right? So I started tapping into different dimensions, meaning I just started like thinking about different things, right? So this is kind of when, I think when I was in this moment, this state, okay, you guys, I feel like all my gifts were like basically working at the same time, and it was like really, it was too much. So she's a Scorpio, and of course I was into astrology, but I wasn't as in depth or knew as much about astrology as I do now. So Scorpio rules the subconscious. It was, I swear to God, you guys, I've never in my life experienced this, seen this before. It was really weird, y'all. So this is what happened. I started picking up on this girl's energy, but I thought it was my energy, right? If you've never channeled before, if you don't know what that is, then you're not going to know what's going on. So of course I channel from spirit. I'm clairaudient. I'm very, very clairaudient. So a lot of the messages I get now anyways are claircognizance, but they're clairaudient. So it's kind of like I'm like self-talk. So a lot of, that's one of my strongest gifts is clairaudience. So my clairaudience was booming that day. All right, so I'm hearing and I'm thinking thoughts that I never thought before. Like I'm super anxious, anxiety, like I have a lot of anxiety. So like I remember my heart beating like out of my chest, like, and I was like, I remember her talking to me and I would just like zone out of the conversation, right? And I would zone back in, but it was almost as if I was so, it was like I was literally walking in my head. It was like I couldn't even focus, you guys, on what was going on outside of me, because I was like, something was going wrong in my head. I thought it was anyways, right? So boom. We're in the car for like a good 30 minutes, okay? And I've noticed that every time this happens to me, and I'll be like, I'm super high, and people never know exactly what the fuck I'm thinking, because I'm like 10 times out of 10 freaking the fuck out. This actually happened to me at least 5 times now. Okay, so I just kind of just take my limits with the drugs, okay? Marijuana anyways, it's the only drug I have done in the world. It's not even a drug. But so I start hearing these voices, right? Like I said, I used to have public anxiety. I used to have very bad anxiety. I used to be very, very insecure, things like that, just very, very like conscious, okay? And it was like almost as if that was coming back, but I was aware that it wasn't me. Like I was aware that something was off, because it's like I've healed myself. I went through a very tough shadow, in-depth healing cleansing. So I'm like, I don't think this is me, right? So this is when it starts getting weird, you guys. I'm thinking something and I'll think it, and then right after that she'll say it. And maybe at first I was like, okay, we're just thinking alike, we're having telepathy, okay? Like I'm reading her mind. Then I was like, I kept doing it. Like I kept thinking these thoughts and she would say it. And then I was like, I'm reading her mind, but it's almost as if like I was reading her mind before she even said it. So it was like literally it was like I was talking to her we were talking through our minds, but she had no idea that we were doing this, right? This when it got more weird, you guys. So let's go back, okay? Remember how I told you about the energy thing, okay? So after a while, I started feeling a little off by her, okay? Just because her energy was off, okay? A lot of times I don't I can't keep a friendship or a very genuine relationship because girls are very jealous. So I remember I was supposed to be going somewhere with her for my birthday, actually. And I remember I kept asking my mom, like, hey, mom, I just don't feel right about this girl. Something just feels really off. And she's like, okay, maybe you're just tripping. And I'm like, okay, maybe I am tripping, you know, because I have a lot of trust issues because, you know, every single time I feel like someone is betraying me or doing what I feel like they're doing, they are. And so it's like, it's hard for you to say, okay, well, maybe this time's different. And it was exactly the same, okay? So this is a very strong gift. And it's a lot to handle, I'm not gonna lie, even for me, and I feel like I can handle a lot. Now, so yeah, that's what happened. So that would happen, right? The reason why I didn't feel right about her, it was like, I remember one time she kind of asked me to teach her how to do tarot. By this time I had been doing tarot for about 2 months. I started in January, right? At the beginning of 2020. So by this time I had been doing tarot for a good 2 months and I was pretty good at it, you know? So I'm teaching her, but it was like I could read her. It was almost as if she was trying to play me. Like she was like, yeah, I don't know how to shuffle, and she wanted me to teach her every little concise thing. But that's not the point, okay? So there was other times when I felt very petty, smug type of energy, but I let it go because I felt as if, okay, maybe I'm projecting or maybe I'm being pessimistic. So boom, we go to this day. It's almost as if God shows me the illusion or I can see through the veil like 10 times more, right? So not only was I reading this girl's mind, everything that I was thinking, she literally said it, right? So it starts getting weirder. I was like feeling everything. So my heart's beating out of my chest, like my hands are like shaky, but I'm still here. Like my mind is there, but it's like, I'm not understanding. It was like, I was literally just like a channel. So like, it was really weird. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we go ahead and I put on her lashes. It takes me about like 20 minutes, you guys, because I'm not sure like what's going on. I'm feeling all these weird. So like usually, you know how you will feel someone that's not good for you, but you wasn't sure. It was like I was 10 times sure that everything that I was feeling was real. So I think I had asked God for a sign, and I think that was like the sign. So now we get into the music. She starts playing music. I've never experienced this before. I heard so many demonic messages in the music. So it was like, it was a buildup, you guys. I think that was like kind of the worst experience. It made me like not ever want to smoke ever again in my whole entire life. So we started playing music, right? Not only was I hearing like the messages in the music, if you're clairaudient, you're real clairaudient, you can hear messages in anything. So when I listen to music, I hear messages, anything. So a lot of times I'll get messages from the music. So what's funny enough, just to tip you guys, if you're a psychic, if you are a tarot reader, a reader of any kind, the music that someone plays, whether they know it subconsciously or consciously, tells you their intentions on you, okay? Because it was like she was playing this whole playlist, you guys. She was playing, like I told you guys, I thought she was in competition with me. I thought she was a little jealous of me because it was almost as if she was always trying to one-up me. Anytime we talked about the spiritual things, it was like, okay, she would be like, okay, like, yeah, it was like, I don't know, I could just read her aura, like as if she felt like I could just read her. Like she was like listening to a whole bunch of fighting music and like bitches talking shit. It was like a whole bunch of dissing in the music. So I'm peeping the music, y'all, and I'm just sitting back in my chair, right? Because mind you, anytime I feel like someone doesn't have good intentions on me, I'll usually ask God, give me a sign, because I want to make sure that it's not me projecting my energy and it's actually what I feel like it is, okay? And if it's someone else, that I know that that's someone I need to detach my energy from. So we're listening to all this music and I'm, okay, there's my confirmation, like, okay, so boom, I hear all this music. And what's crazy enough, she plays this, I think out of all the experiences, hers was the most alarming to me now. She was starting to play this music. I think it was something about Israelites. And I swear to God, you guys, it is such coincidental that we were talking about this just the other day, but she started playing something like that. But I don't know, in my mind, I was just hearing very, very, very evil things, right? So of course, when you're hearing voices in your mind, of course, I'm aware. I know that I'm clairaudient. I know that I have gifts now, but I never experienced anything to this extent. Like I've never experienced the power of any type of gift to this extent. So it really frightened me. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't the one that was doing anything. So I started kind of freaking out in my mind, like, did I do something wrong? Am I like, you know, like, did I do something wrong? Am I doing the wrong things? Did I summon something that I have no idea? Even though I didn't even do anything, I just wanted to make sure. Because, you know, this was like when I kind of first started tarot, and people tell you like, oh, it's dark and it's evil and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, what if, you know, I'm doing this and I'm just like, I'm freaking out at this point, but I'm freaking out in my head. So I'm freaking out in my head, and I'm still hearing like all these really deep demonic type of thoughts. And I know they're not my thoughts, you guys, because first of all, if anyone knows me, I am like, when I tell you guys, when I express to you guys, I love God, I am God. I like make a pact every day. I am for heaven, I am from God, I work for the light, nothing else. So I know it's not me thinking these demonic type of energies, because as soon as I got into the spiritual career, I made sure that I knew who I was for, right? So I'm hearing like these very demonic type of, literally like just sayings like you're gonna die, and it's just really weird, right? And so I really had to go back on the situation and put the pieces together for me to really get it. Okay, so boom, we go and we finally get to our destination, and this is another sign. Okay, so we go to this, we're going to, I think she wanted to go to this restaurant, and she wanted to go to the spiritual shop to get some crystals. So I'm like, okay, hey, cool. You guys, nowhere, everywhere we went, 0 parking spots. 0. Not to mention, you guys, when we were driving there, like, I swear to God, I thought I was going to die. Like, my heart was beating super fast. I kept seeing a whole bunch of crows, you guys. And then the music, it just kept talking about how legends should die. It was like she was playing the weirdest music to me, but it was like almost as if it wasn't her. It was like, I was so afraid, you guys, because like literally I could have cried. Like, I wanted to cry so bad. I didn't know what to do, because I didn't want her to think that like I was crazy or I was freaking out or anything. So I was like, okay, no, I can't say anything, so I'm just gonna stay in here. Because before I actually knew that I had gifts and things like that, I'll peep things and I'll see through the veil, and people will tell me like, no, you're wrong, you're tripping, and I'll be like, okay, and then I'll feel bad. But God he would keep showing me like kind of like increments of this gift, and this gift is not a gift that comes towards me like all the time. Okay, now I can read people like that, but of course I've been prepared for this like my whole life. I took sign language in high school, so I can read facial, I can read everything. Okay, so we keep hearing like this very demonic music, and I've never heard her play this type of music till this day. It was almost as if something was literally speaking through her, but I couldn't see it until I literally was tapped into those dimensions. It was like I was tapping through dimensions, mind you guys. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I get all the story without like rambling, mind you guys. Okay, when we're smoking, I told you guys that she wanted me to put on her lashes. We were talking about the government, you guys, and a lot of times we're not able to see the full vision of what's going on. Of course, we may know about it, but as far as like, of course, when you see with your third eye, it's a lot of time not seeing with the visual eye. But I remember when we were talking about something, I think we were like talking about gang stalking. You guys, I swear to God on my life, we seen a car, right? We seen a car pull up. It was 2 men in all black, I swear to God. She seen them too, but I was tapped into like a very high consciousness, and every time this gift is like comes through me, it's like I'm tapped into a very high consciousness. So we see these 2 guys, and they have on like literally black suits, and you hear him talking on a walkie-talkie, and it's like they get out the car and they get back in the car. And it was so crazy because before that we were like, yeah, like something, I was like, yeah, the government, they're out to get us, like they're always watching us, da 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 da. And then they come and they drive off, and then I put on her lashes, and then we ended up going back to, you know, where we're supposed to be going after we smoked, right? So once we're driving there, we're getting there, okay, it's like I'm hearing her music is very, very weird, but the music is speaking to me, okay? So not only am I hearing like, basically I'm getting the message that she doesn't like me, she wants to fight me, things like that, because of the music that she's playing, which she never plays this type of music. Usually she'll play like Janine Ekyo or very soothing music, but this day she wasn't, right? So we were driving, and like I told you guys, I always drive myself, and I feel like every time I get into these situations, I kid you not, someone else is always driving me. I feel like there's like demons that are sent to like literally try to hurt me or destroy me, and every time it's like a spiritual warfare, you guys, like in my head, because it's like literally, because it's like I have to know the strength and the power that I'm actually not crazy, that I'm tapped into higher consciousnesses. So it's like a fucking spiritual battle in my head, right? So I'm hearing this music, and it was like, yeah, all legends die young, and it's something about stars and dying. So it just kept talking about dying, and then I'm seeing like all these black birds, and I'm freaking the fuck out. And then her freaking GPS kept rerouting. I'm like, oh my god, this girl's about to kill me. And you guys, I was high, so you know. But before that, the reason why I was so afraid, because I was supposed to be going to New Orleans with her. Okay, we wanted to get like the experience. And I was like, I told my mom, I think I had heard a story about this girl getting killed, and I was like, I just don't feel right. Like something about her is just not right. I didn't know what it was. I just knew something was off. And so I was like, okay, something's totally off. What if this girl kills me? She tries to take me somewhere. Like I said, I think I said this before, in my past life, I really feel like I was killed by a very close friend. And that's why like now in this lifetime, I'm so cautious of people's intentions on me. Okay. So we finally get to the place. There's no parking spots, as if God does not want me to be with her anymore. He's like, you need to leave. You need to get out. So we finally, like after driving around for, I swear to God, an hour, you guys, she's like, okay, fuck it. Let's just go to this. We ended up going to a whole different place, y'all. So we go in here and boom, it's like so many signs. Like this girl is not your friend, right? So we're sitting down at the table, and you guys, I'm walking, she's walking like all the way behind me, and like she's just texting on her phone, right? And I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird, but whatever. So I get to the restaurant, and she's still texting on her phone, and she's just smiling at her phone, and I'm talking, literally, y'all, I'm talking to her. Hey, what are you getting? Hey, have you ate here before? Hey, can you hear me? Shay, hello? Huh? Yeah. So I was like, yeah, this bitch trying to play me, right? I'm like, okay, cool. So we finished eating, and then I'm like, if I get too high, I'll just say like, you know what, I need to go outside, because nature actually grounds the shit out of me. So I'm like, okay, we go to this crystal shop. I think we ended up walking around because she said she wanted to ride some bikes. I was not in the mood. I was freaking the fuck out to be riding some damn bikes. So I was like, okay, whatever. So we ended up not getting the bikes run, ended up just walking around, okay? So I'm still kind of thinking about everything that I've experienced, because at this point I am freaking the fuck out. Now, there's a couple of parts that I missed, you guys. There is the part where we are driving around, right? And she tried to do reverse psychology on me. So it's like I'm not only hearing her thoughts, I'm seeing her actions, and I'm listening to her words. None of them match, because it was like the things that she's saying, they don't match her true intentions. So this is basically when I learned that I can read people's subconscious. Not only can I read you, I can read your subconscious, so I know I can read your true intentions on me, right? So she was like, mind you guys, I told you I was no longer depressed. I no longer had anxiety. I no longer had social anxiety. I didn't care to get out. I didn't care to do anything. If you ever smoke marijuana, if you do those things, you know that a lot of times it does give you social anxiety, the drug itself or the herb itself, okay? So she was like, yeah, I don't think we should just go, because there's a lot of cars, there's a lot of people there, right? And she was like, yeah, I just don't think we should go. You know, I just don't want you to feel any type of way, because I just kept telling her, because I knew I was high as shit. I was like, yeah, I think I'm just too high. Like, I'm just too high. I just kept saying it, but I couldn't tell her all the shit. I couldn't tell her, yeah, bitch, I'm hearing like demonic shit, and I'm seeing demons in you. I can't tell her that. All right, so I couldn't tell her that. So I'm just sitting here, and I'm like, yeah, I just don't feel right. Like my heart's beating out my damn chest. I can hear my heartbeat. It's like I can hear every little thing. I can hear a pin drop from like 50 billion miles away. Then I'm hearing her. I'm hearing all the thoughts that she's thinking. And now I do it easily. Like I'll get around people and I'll hear their thoughts, and like I'll start laughing. And it's probably weird, but it's okay. But So I'm hearing her thoughts and they're very evil. And I'm like, what the fuck? This bitch is evil as hell. And so she's like, yeah, I don't want to go in there. I don't want you to be afraid. And I'm like, oh, I'm not afraid. But I could read her subconscious. Like I knew exactly what she was doing. She didn't want to go in there because she was afraid. She was afraid. She had social anxiety, but she wanted me to say it. So of course, the real healer spiritualist I am, I say, girl, we do not even gotta go. Let's go to the park. Because I knew she was scared. But I'm not about to sit here and say, girl, you're scared, because that's petty. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not the type of person. So I was like, okay, let's go to the park. So we go to the park and we just walk around the park. Okay, of course we're getting a whole bunch of looks because in Atlanta there is a little racial injustices down there for sure. Okay, whether they say it or not, it definitely is. I'd say I experienced more there than I did here in Texas, and we all know. Now, so at this point I'm pretty much calming down, you know. And not only that, that was the highest I've ever been in my life. Like, I've never been high for that long. I was freaking the fuck out. Then mind you guys, I finished my food at the restaurant. She ended up not getting anything. It was almost as if it was like everything we were doing, we were in competition like the whole day. And it was like, I was just peeping everything, like her music. She was dissing me in her music. Her thoughts were very demonic. Oh my God, y'all. How did I forget this part? Pause. I'm not fucking crazy. This is what this bitch said. So why, y'all, when we're going to the mall, remember I told you it was packed. We ended up not going. So this bitch is crazy. She was demonic. She really was, y'all. She told me, she said, yeah, you know, someone got shot up here like the other day. So you need to walk really fast when we get in here. And in my head, I'm thinking, why the hell are we going up here? Someone just got shot up here. What the And she's like, yeah, even like the other week when me and my friend was up here, like we had to walk so fast because like this guy tried to steal her. Like she was trying to put fear in my heart. Like, who else does that but the devil? Not to mention, we're driving and she's telling me, she's playing music talking about killing legends, killing Israelites. Now, then she's talking about, and this is literally in March, you guys. This was like in March. So this is like months ago, y'all, months ago. So then she's like, yeah, I need to go buy a knife. Mind you guys, I already feel like this girl, something is very off about her, and now I feel something's very off about her because not only we're hearing all this music, and then I'm hearing her thoughts, and they're very, very demonic, and they're just very, very low vibrational, right? And at first I thought it was me till that happened. And so she's like, yeah, I need to get a knife. And I knew this girl was crazy because she's the only person that I've ever knew in my life to actually kill someone in her dreams. Y'all know how you have a dream and you're the one that's dying? She's the one that was killing people. That's why I'm like, Scorpios are weird. Like, if you're a Scorpio, no. I'll be thinking I'm a Scorpio. I could never. No, I'm just playing. I like Scorpios though. I embody the Scorpio energy, but I'm not a Scorpio. Okay, so she's like, yeah, I need to get a knife. And at this point, I'm like, this bitch is dangerous as fuck. At this point, I'm just like, I just want to go home because I don't know what is going on. So we get to the spiritual shop. Finally, the day is almost over. So she's acting very smug the whole day, very passive aggressive. And like, I'm breeding the shit out of her. Like at this point, I know all her intentions on me. I know this. So I'm like, okay, cool. So after all that happens, we finally go home. No, this is actually before we go home. Literally, guys, this is the longest day in the world. She tells me, she sits in the back, which was even more weird. We're in the car, we're in her car. She wants to eat in the car. She didn't even eat at the restaurant, right? Remember I told you she was texting her ass away. So I'm eating, of course. And then we get in the car, she orders to go, and she starts to eat in the car, but she gets in the back of her own car to eat while I'm in the front. This is what she says. She says, well, I just feel like something's just so wrong with my life, and I just feel like something's missing. And in my head, before I even turn around, I'm just like, this bitch is crazy, bro. I'm like, what are you talking about, right? And she's like, yeah, she's like telling me about her childhood, and I'm telling her like, yeah, it's cool, it's okay. And she's telling me something about like how something's always been missing and blah blah blah. So I'm telling her, yeah. And I'm telling her like, because I'm thinking like maybe, okay, I should express this with her, because I feel as if you have something attached to your energy, because I didn't think that it was literally her doing this. I really felt like she had something attached to her energy, and I was never able to pick it up. But because I was tapped into those different dimensions, I could see the lowest of the dimensions, literally, because of course the higher you are, the more you're going to be able to see. If you're in an airplane, you can see the whole thing, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm just thinking like, wow, you know. And she's like telling me about this, and I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know. So I'm telling her, yeah, I just felt really weird today. Like, I don't know, I was feeling really anxious, and like, I don't know, I was having like a lot of negative thoughts and things like that. And she says, wow. And it was like, as we were driving, like I was still talking to her. I wasn't just silent, you guys, like this whole way. Like, and I just kept telling her like, dang, I think I'm just super high. I just kept saying it because I was like so high, and I just wanted her to know like, you're calm, but I'm freaking the fuck out. Like, if I look calm, I'm freaking the fuck out, like for real. I think I'm gonna insert some some videos, but I'm like, yeah. And so I'm just telling her, and she was like, wow, that's everything that I feel usually. So basically I was channeling all this bitch's energy, and she was channeling my energy. So she switched energies with me. And the reason why now I'm about to have an epiphany, because I remember somebody telling me, I was talking to somebody about energy, and I said, yeah, energy can't be destroyed, and can only be transmuted. They say, yeah, it can be transferred too. I've never in my life thought about that step, because I've never tried to transfer my energy to someone. That's disrespectful. Don't give me your energy, like, and don't try to take my energy. You see what I'm saying? So I noticed that too. So I was all shaky and freaking the fuck out that day, and she was like just cool and confident. And usually, like, you know, that's like me, and like she's the one that's like freaking out. I'm like, hey girl, it's cool. But it was like I was channeling her energy, and so I was hearing her thoughts. So boom, I finally get back to the house, y'all, and I sage immediately. So I literally, like I told you guys, went to the spiritual shop, and I ended up getting some sage that day, because I was like, yeah, at this point, I'm done with it. I'm over it. I don't even think I got sage. I think I got Play-Doh Santos. And so I was like, okay, cool. So she drove me back to my house, and I was so freaking relieved. Like, it was the longest day in the world. I feel like I've never spent that long with someone or ever. Okay, so it gets weirder. So I'm just thinking, right? And I had no idea what the Jezebel spirit was. I didn't know what it was. So I look it up. At this time, I was really into angel numbers. I still am. But and now I get signs in other very big ways, but I was very into angel numbers. So I was just looking at the angel numbers like the whole time, like I was with her, because I wanted to make sure that I was not going insane. Because mind you guys, like I told you guys at the beginning of the video, my dad is schizophrenic. It kind of popped off because of him doing drugs. It wasn't weed, of course, but I was, you know. So yeah, I was like, okay. So it gets weirder. So I'm sitting here putting the pieces and puzzles together of what the fuck I just experienced. All this demonic shit. Like, I'm scared. I remember at one point when I was in the car with her, I literally, my eyes were watering, because I felt like I just didn't understand. Like, I didn't know what was exactly going on. Like, I felt really afraid, because it was like I was really going through a spiritual warfare. But it was like, literally, I remember like once I figured out everything, or figured out that it wasn't me and that I was actually experiencing gifts or my powers, I just remember hearing, congratulations, you passed. And it just all stopped. Like it didn't all just stop, you guys, but it was like it just got better, because I had to be aware that, I think it was kind of like a test for me, kind of like, you know, if you're gonna be experiencing this, you need to understand like how in depth this shit really gets, or what you can experience. So at first, of course, I let it go. So I didn't end up telling her like, hey, I think you got a demon attached to you. I think I ended up blocking her though, because like I said, she was super jealous of me, and I don't like that around me. It's very low vibrational, because I want everyone to win always. So I was like, okay, cool, you know. So I ended up blocking her, and I remember she texted me and she was like, hey, did you block me? And the old me would probably have been like, I don't know what the old me would have said, but the new me, I was like, yeah. And she was like, why? And I was just like, yeah, the other day I just felt real weird around you. And like, I expected her to be really mad, but she was honestly very understanding. And that's how I knew it wasn't her. It was something attached to her, because I knew there was something off with her. But it was like every time that we spent time together, she was always so loving and caring and kind. And like, it was weird, but it was like, of course I knew there was those times when like she would be like kind of smug and passive aggressive, but it wasn't too horribly bad to something that I feel like, okay, I can't hang out with you. But I knew something was very, very off with her. I just didn't know what it was. Anytime I feel like something's off and I can't pick what it is, it's something in depth. So I knew it was something in depth, right? So I was still a little confused by this until it happened to me the second time with a guy. And I kind of realized like, wow, I can channel people's demons. That's not, it's actually very scary, actually. It scares me because it feels like, it's almost as if like my body is gone, or like, or I'm out of my body. Like it's like out of body experiences type shit, because it's like, what? But so I'm telling her, I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm like, have you ever heard of the Jezebel spirit? And I just told her, I said, I think you have something attached to you, like a demon. Because guys, she used to have a lot of sex, like a lot of sexual partners, things like that. And I actually never even knew until this day. It was like so much shit that I was finding out in this one day. It was like a revelation day or some shit. So it was like, yeah, she was telling me about how she couldn't have sex with this one guy, so she was gonna have sex with this other guy. I'm not her friend anymore, you guys, so we're not bashing nobody. And I'm just thinking like, wow, you know, especially if you're spiritual, a real spiritualist, you can't just give your energy away. But that's the separation. So I started reading about the Jezebel spirit, right? Or the Jezebel spirit. And basically these people, they come to you in a form of familiar spirits. So they're going to be someone who seems familiar to you, someone that you're going to like, or someone that's going to seem that is twinning how your soul should be, right? But they're not. Kind of think about a karmic, okay, or a false twin flame. A lot of those people were very demonic vessels, hollow shells, and I feel like that was kind of her, because it was like every time we were talking about spirituality, it was almost as if it was like a show for her. But for me, this is like my real life. Like, this is my calling. I'm a spiritualist, a real one. And so I'm like, okay. But of course, everyone, this is like, it's like, it was almost as if it was like a trend to her, and it's not a trend to me. This is my life, okay? So I'm telling her this. I think I ended up telling her this like the day or two ago, and she's like, okay, can you call me please? Well, no, I think I didn't tell her at first. And I was like, I didn't tell her at first. And she was like, can you tell me? Because if it's something that can hurt me, I need to know. Because at first I didn't even text back, okay guys? So I ended up calling her because of course I'm a healer. And I was like, okay, maybe God's showing me this so that I can help her. Because I was looking up all these spiritual gifts, like the spiritual gifts in the Bible. At this point, like I was obsessed. Like I didn't understand like what the fuck that I just experienced. I've never experienced anything like that. And it's still hard for me to put it into words. I think the second part of this, or the second time that this happened to me, it's going to be a little bit easier for me to put into words. But all I know is like I was super tapped into dimensions. Like I was super tapped into the spiritual realm. So I was picking up on angel numbers, and I was picking up on the messages in the songs, and I could read her facial expressions and everything. And I was just reading, like the universe. It was just so weird. So I was like having like one of those experiences that people talk about like when they're on like LSD and psychedelics, but I was only on weed, y'all. Like, and I know I'm like excited, but it still amazes me to this day, because I've never experienced something like this. I've never seen someone else experience some shit like this, right? So of course I'm thinking I'm tripping, okay? And God never fails to show me how powerful I am. So I tell her, hey, you know, I think you have a demon attached to you. And she was like, wow, you know, this African man, or this man told me, excuse me, because I don't want to be, you know, this man told me that and the crazy thing is she didn't tell me who it was. She's like, yeah, I was told by this man that I was cursed, right? So I'm thinking, I'm not crazy. She said, I was told by this man that I was cursed, right? And I said, was he an African man? And she said, yes. How do you know that? Because as soon as she told me that, it was almost as if like I had like this visual, this picture, and it was like I knew it was true because voodooists, hoodooists, all that shit comes from Africa. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, they can see through the veil. They can see through the veil. So I'm like, damn. So I'm like, yeah, you might like, and I think she was super mad at me, y'all. She ended up blocking me because I think like I was only being honest with her. This is what I told her. I said, who do you believe in? I said, who do you pray to? And she's like, I pray to God. And I was like, okay, good. Because I was trying to figure out if something is attached to you, how is it attached to you? What are you doing? And I'm thinking you're spiritual just like me. And people talk about how tarot is witchcraft and you're a beast and they slander, whatever. But I'm like, okay, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Right? So she's like, we have this conversation, and this is literally the day of my birthday, you guys. I'm talking to her. And she's just like, yeah, I believe in God. I'm like, you just make sure that you're cleansing yourself, making sure that you're keeping like your energetic aura free of like sexual partners and things like that, because you have no idea who someone else is dealing with, right? She's like, okay, girl, enjoy your birthday. Then the next day in the morning, I get a text. I can't do this. Like, I'm not about to keep letting people think that I'm a bad person and all this other crap. And I'm just like, what? And I'm like, whatever, because I didn't even give a fuck. Because I'm like, I was like, I need to stay away from her because she's gonna automatically put me in spiritual warfare. You're a fucking demon, or you have a Jezebel spirit, right? But I think it was more of like being able to tap into people's inner demons, and that's something that I don't want to do. So now, you guys, I'm able, so okay, I also want to go back. So you guys, before I had my spiritual awakening, this gift, God tried to give me this gift before, or he tried to open me up to the gift. I remember my ex-best friend, you guys. I remember we were at a party, you guys, and it was so crazy. So this was probably like a year before like my spiritual awakening, and I didn't trust in myself. I didn't believe in myself, right? So my best friend, I just kept noticing all these like really